There is a feminine energy so powerful it doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain, and yet it bends the room the moment she walks in. I want you to breathe that in for a second, because what I'm about to share with you is not the watered-down version of femininity you see on social media. And it's not the performative softness that asks for permission to exist. This is the kind of feminine energy that masculine men feel in their bones before they can name it. The kind that makes them quieter, more attentive, more exposed, not because you overpower them, but because your presence awakens something ancient in them. I've watched it happen in boardrooms, in penthouses overlooking city lights, in private dinners where the most dominant men in the room suddenly lean in when a woman like this speaks. Not louder, but slower. And I know this energy intimately, because I had to unlearn everything I was taught about being easy, agreeable, low maintenance to access it. Here's the truth no one says out loud. Masculine men are not weakened by control, manipulation, or drama. They are weakened by a woman who is deeply rooted in herself, who doesn't need his validation to feel alive, who doesn't rush to fill silence, who doesn't audition for love. Carl Jung once said that what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. And masculine men resist vulnerability like it's fire until they encounter a woman whose calm presence makes resistance feel unnecessary. That's the first crack. That's where power lives. I remember sitting across from a man who was used to being the prize, the decider, the one women tried to impress. And instead of performing, I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't overreact. I didn't try to be impressive. And somewhere between his third sentence and my quiet smile, the dynamic shifted. He started explaining himself. He started seeking my reaction. He started wondering what I was thinking. That's not luck. That's feminine energy in its purest form. When you are anchored in your own rhythm, your own pleasure, your own inner fullness, you stop chasing masculine energy and you start polarizing it. You either awaken it or repel it. And both outcomes are power. This is why a woman who is truly in her feminine doesn't need to dominate a man to feel strong. Her strength is in her selectiveness, her discernment, her emotional economy. She knows that attention is currency, and she spends it like a woman who owns the bank. Philosophically, this is yin energized receptive force that shapes the container within which everything else moves. Psychologically, it's secure attachment embodied. Relationally, it's the difference between chemistry that burns out and attraction that deepens. And once you understand this, you stop asking how to make men want you and start asking whether they can meet you where you already are. Now let me take you deeper. Because feminine energy that makes masculine men weak is not about being passive. And it's definitely not about shrinking yourself. It's about emotional gravity. Think about the women you've met who didn't seem rushed by life, who moved through rooms like time slowed down for them, who didn't explain their worth, yet somehow everyone felt it. Those women are not constantly broadcasting their needs. They are present with themselves first. Masculine men are wired to test, to push, to measure stability, not consciously, but instinctively. And when they encounter a woman who doesn't flinch under pressure, who doesn't become chaotic when things are uncertain, something in them relaxes and something else sharpens. I've seen men who command teams of hundreds suddenly become careful with their words around a woman who knows how to pause before responding. Silence, used correctly, is one of the most underestimated feminine tools, because silence invites projection. When you don't immediately reveal your inner world, he starts to imagine it. And imagination is where obsession is born. This isn't a trick. It's human psychology. The mind fills gaps. And the woman who is comfortable with gaps in conversation, gaps in availability, gaps in emotional disclosure creates space for masculine energy to step forward. I learned this the hard way. After years of overgiving, over-explaining, thinking love was built through constant access. It's not. Love, desire, and respect are built through polarity, through the dance between presence and absence, between warmth and mystery. A feminine woman doesn't withdraw to punish. She withdraws to return to herself. That distinction changes everything. when you prioritize your nervous system, your pleasure, your purpose, you stop vibrating with anxious energy and start emitting calm authority. Men feel that. They may not articulate it, but they feel it in their chest, in the way they suddenly want to provide, protect, and impress. This is where philosophy meets real life. Lao Tzu wrote that the soft overcomes the hard, the yielding overcomes the rigid. And nowhere is this more evident than in relationships. The woman who trusts her inner flow doesn't compete with masculine force. She redirects it. She becomes the axis around which it turns. And here's where I want you to be very honest with yourself. When was the last time you chose yourself without announcing it? Without justifying it? Without needing applause? That moment, right there, is the doorway back into your feminine power. By the time we reach this point, I want you to feel something settling into your body, not just your mind, because feminine energy is not an idea. It's a state. It's how you breathe when no one is watching, how you move when you're alone, how you speak to yourself in moments of disappointment. Masculine men don't fall for words. They fall for coherence. When your inner world and outer behavior align, you become undeniable. This is why chasing techniques without inner work never lasts. The energy I'm talking about comes from self-trust, so deep you don't abandon yourself to be chosen. It's the energy of a woman who knows that her softness is not a liability. Her sensitivity is not weakness. And her boundaries are not cruelty. And yes, masculine men feel exposed around this energy because it mirrors their own unintegrated parts. It invites them into presence, into responsibility, into truth. Some will rise, some will retreat. Both outcomes are information. As I always tell my sisters here at Femphoria, your job is not to convince, convert, or carry anyone. Your job is to curate your life so well that only aligned energy can stay. If you're feeling this, if something in you is clicking, I want you to stay with me. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, because we go deeper into this work together. And I want you to comment your biggest takeaway the moment this video ends. Not for me, but to anchor it for yourself. Remember this: the feminine energy that makes masculine men weak is the same energy that makes you strong, grounded, and free. It's the energy of a woman who doesn't ask for permission to be magnetic, who doesn't dilute herself to be digestible, who knows that her presence is enough. Carry that with you. Rewatch this when you forget. And when you walk back into your life after this video, walk like you remember who you are. And before you close this video, before you scroll, before life pulls you back into noise, I want you to let this land in a deeper place. Because what we talked about today isn't just about men, or dating, or attraction. It's about who you become when you stop betraying yourself for approval. This feminine energy, the one that unsettles masculine men, the one that commands respect without force, is not something you put on like lipstick. It's something you return to. It's what happens when you stop performing and start inhabiting your own body, your own pace, your own truth. When you no longer apologize for your standards, when you no longer rush intimacy to feel chosen, when you understand that being desired is not the same as being valued, and you choose value every single time. Here's the quiet revolution no one warns you about. When you embody this energy, some people will fall away, not because you became cold, but because you became clear. And clarity is confronting to anyone who benefits from your confusion. Let them go. Feminine power is selective. It does not beg to be understood. It trusts that what is aligned will recognize it instantly. This is why the most powerful women are not the loudest in the room. They are the most centered. They move like they have time. They speak like they trust themselves. They love without losing themselves. And when they walk away, they do it cleanly, without theatrics, without bitterness, because they know that their energy is too precious to leak into places where it is not honored. I want you to remember this the next time you feel tempted to over-explain, to chase clarity from someone who gives you confusion, to lower your standards so someone can reach you. Pause. That pause is feminine intelligence. That pause is where your power lives. In that space, ask yourself one question: Does this choice move me closer to myself or further away? If it moves you closer, trust it, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it means being alone for a season. Because solitude with self-respect will always be more powerful than connection that costs you your essence. And as you step forward from here, carry this knowing with you. You do not need to harden to be safe, and you do not need to shrink to be loved. Your softness, when protected by boundaries, becomes authority. Your intuition, when trusted, becomes strategy. Your femininity, when embodied, becomes influence. This is the kind of energy that doesn't just change relationships, it changes lives. So if this spoke to you, if it stirred something real, comment "I needed this" and mean it. Rewatch it when you forget, and walk back into the world remembering that the most dangerous thing you can ever do is fully be yourself.